There's a study from the University of Michigan that found something uncomfortable. People who score low in self-respect are 3 times more likely to be manipulated by those closest to them, not strangers, the people they trust. And here's what makes it darker. They rarely know it's happening. They call it love. They call it loyalty. They call it just being a good person. But underneath all of that, something is being taken. Something they never learned to protect. So the question isn't whether someone has been taking from you. The question is, do you even know what self-respect actually is? Because what most people think it is completely wrong. This channel exists for one reason: to show you what most people are never shown about human behavior, psychology, and the mechanics of power. Not to scare you, to prepare you. Self-respect isn't an emotion. It's not something you feel on a good day and lose on a bad one. It's a system, a set of laws you either live by or don't. And when you don't, the world fills that vacuum. Other people's expectations move in. Their needs outrank yours. Their comfort becomes your responsibility. What follows are 5 laws, not suggestions, not affirmations. Laws, in the psychological sense. Break them, and there are consequences. Live by them, and something in the people around you shifts. They can feel it, even if they can't name it. The first law is the law of the standard. You teach people how to treat you, not with words, with what you allow, repeatedly, without consequence. Think about Theodore Roosevelt. Not just as a president, as a man who was told repeatedly that his body was too weak for the life he wanted. Doctors said it, teachers implied it, his own biology threatened it, and he didn't argue with them. He didn't try to convince them otherwise. He set a standard for himself, privately, relentlessly, and let his behavior become the only argument that mattered. The people around him adjusted. They had no choice. This is the law in its purest form. A standard isn't something you announce. It's something you demonstrate until it becomes undeniable. Now think about your own life. Where have you lowered your standard just once and found that once became the new floor? Someone spoke to you in a way that felt wrong. You let it pass. Then it happened again. And by the 3rd time, you'd already normalized it. That's not weakness. That's the absence of a law. The law of the standard says this: what you tolerate, you validate. And what you validate, you invite more of, every single time. Your standard is communicated through your responses, your silences, your willingness to walk away or stay. Most men have never consciously set one. They react to what life brings instead of establishing what they will and won't accept. Set the standard first. Let everything else be filtered through it. The second law is the law of silence, and this one will make you uncomfortable because it goes against almost everything modern culture tells you. Psychologist James Pennebaker spent decades studying self-disclosure. His research showed that talking about yourself activates reward circuits in the brain. Explaining yourself feels good. Justifying your choices feels like resolution. But there's a cost hidden inside that relief. Every time you over-explain, you signal that your decision requires external approval to be legitimate. You reveal that you're not yet sure of yourself, and other people sense it immediately. The law of silence isn't about being cold or closed. It's about understanding that not everything deserves a response. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Not every person deserves your reasons. There's a version of silence that is aggressive, the kind used to punish. That's not this. This silence is different. It's the silence of a man who is clear, who doesn't need to convince you because he's already convinced himself. Watch how the most respected people in any room behave. They speak less. When they speak, the room adjusts. That's not charisma. That's the weight of someone who doesn't need you to agree with them. You have been conditioned to fill silence with explanation, to smooth discomfort with words, to justify your existence with logic that no one asked for. Every time you do that, you're paying a toll. The law of silence says, stop paying. Let your choices stand on their own. Silence, used correctly, is the most powerful statement you can make. The third, fourth, and fifth laws operate together, and they are where self-respect becomes something you can actually use or have used against you. The third law is the law of refusal. The fourth is the law of consistency. The fifth is the law of identity. Start with refusal. Saying no is not a personality trait. It is a psychological boundary that communicates self-value. Research from Stanford's psychology department found that people who struggle to say no experience higher rates of burnout, resentment, and chronic stress. Not because they're generous, because the inability to refuse is rooted in fear. Specifically, the fear that withdrawal of agreement means withdrawal of approval. Someone uses that fear knowingly or unknowingly every time they ask more of you than you should give. The law of refusal isn't about being difficult. It's about making refusal available to you as an option, without guilt, without a spiral of justification. A simple no, delivered calmly, is one of the most self-respecting things a person can do. Now, the law of consistency. Self-respect isn't what you perform in a confrontation. It's what you practice on an ordinary Tuesday. The man who holds his standard only when someone is watching has no standard at all. He has theater. Consistency is what converts a rule into a law, something that applies regardless of who's in the room. And finally, the law of identity. This is the foundation everything else rests on. You cannot protect something you haven't defined. Most people drift through life with a borrowed identity, assembled from others' expectations, cultural defaults, and unconscious imitation. The law of identity demands that you decide who you are, deliberately. Not who you wish you were, not who you were told to be, who you actually are, and who you're committed to becoming. When your identity is clear, manipulation loses its grip, because manipulation always works by making you doubt yourself. And doubt can't find a foothold in a man who has already decided. Here's the reframe. Go back to the beginning, to that study about manipulation and proximity and the people you trust. The disturbing part wasn't that people were being taken from. The disturbing part was the reason it was possible, not malice on the outside, absence on the inside. Self-respect is not a shield you build to keep the world out. It is the signal you emit that tells the world what kind of interaction is possible with you. When that signal is strong, consistent, and grounded in a defined identity, the dynamic changes. Not because people suddenly become good. People remain exactly what they are. But what they see in you shifts. They unconsciously recalibrate. What was possible before is no longer on the table. The 5 laws are not about becoming someone harder. They're not about becoming colder, more distant, or more defensive. They're about becoming someone clearer. Clarity is what the world responds to. Clarity is what confusion, manipulation, and emotional leverage cannot penetrate. The man who has set his standard guards his silence, knows how to refuse, acts consistently, and has defined his identity. That man doesn't need to fight for respect. He doesn't need to demand it or perform it. It precedes him. That's the payoff. Not a dramatic confrontation, not a speech, just a quiet, permanent shift in how the world engages with you. These 5 laws don't require you to become someone else. They require you to stop letting someone else become you. If this landed with you, if something here named something you already felt but hadn't articulated, then you're exactly where this channel is for. There's more. Every week, we go deeper into the psychology of behavior, power, and the darker mechanics of the human mind. Not to harm, to understand. Subscribe. And if one of these laws hit differently than the others, drop it in the comments. I read them. More than you'd expect. Until next time, I'll see you in the shadows.